So this model of processing can currently do up to 1,000 chickens on your farm as long as your customers pick them up from your farm. And then if you go above 1,000, you have to do an ODA certified butchering method, and above 25,000 you have to go to USDA. These chickens can't go to the farmer's market, they can't go to restaurants, or even be delivered to your clients. So this is a poultry co-op where we are all owners of the chickens we're butchering as a community.
Awesome.
No one person is the butcher, and then we borrow the trailer. We're actually working on getting it corporate sponsorships. We're going to paint it over the winter. We're going to get profiles built on all the people butchering, and work on some kind of like, it's the new bass boat of the world. Like, we're looking at, this is going to next year be like a bass boat. Stickers and branding, it's going to be great.
I love it.
That's part of the process. Calming the birds down.
This is Vince Carlson.
Trevor Norris.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Audra. I'm Trevor's sister. Our dad.
Nice job.
What was your name?
Allison.
Allison.
My friend.
My name's Superhero.
So Vince, I heard you're good on the stalled or plucker.
That's kind of been my station, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll put you there for the day. That's what
Once you lift the birds out of the cages and turn them over on their backs, they calm right down.
Well, look at all of the...
And then once they're inverted in the cone, they calm their cones, they calm down further. And if you do a clean cut, they bleed out fairly quickly, but they also remain very calm, relatively calm. There's always going to be some movement, but it's essentially the same process, just on a larger scale. Like I said, instead of capturing the birds in their cages, the trucks drive up about 50,000 birds on them. They're funneled into a dark room, down a chute into a dark room, and once they're in that dark room, they calm right down. You can wander through and pick them up. They just pick them up, hang their feet on foot hooks, and then again the birds are dragged through an electrified bath of water to stun them. And then there's just individuals sitting there doing the same thing I'm doing, but it's a processing line. The birds are just moving on a conveyor belt in front of them. And then as they move through into the processing area, they move back into life. It really is essentially the same process.
I know, it's really...
They were up.
What's that?
They were up.
Oh, yeah.
So it takes like a few minutes to get the cycle going, but once we get into a routine.
Cool. Tell me about this stuff right here.
So this is the scalding machine and then the plucking machine. So they go into 140 degrees, like 2 minutes, a minute and a half, and then into our automated plucking machine.
That's amazing.
So,
It did that in like 30 seconds.
Basically,
And that's just rubber?
Yeah, little rubber fingers. Up, there's a joint.
oh.
And then you go right through that joint.
Oh, nice.
Instead of having the cut bone on the legs. So kind of the basic rule as we go, it's not a rule, but it saves everyone else from getting stuck. At your station, just grab a few of whatever you can. So if everybody grabs a few plucking spots, if something got missed, then by the time we're at the very end, no one person's picking birds all day long.
I'm not going to be able to wear gloves.
Yeah.
It's probably the cleanest. Probably the cleanest.
Just go slow and do not cut
Yeah, they're
yourself.
coming out nice.
We're not in a hurry.
So so then that's the leg, and you can just pluck whatever you can as you go by, and then on the back, what I like to do is get them pulled over and pull the skin kind of back, and find. Really, this is all cosmetic. So the lowest point on the neck you can find, and it's just for looks, is to get in and get just the neck.
Okay.
And then once that's off, you want to look for the windpipe and the crop or crop, and just pull that off.
Oh, okay.
And same with the crop. We just pick that all out. See that? Because they haven't eaten, they're empty, but that's
the reason we don't feed them.
Yeah. So that otherwise it's just yeah.
And then, so that's it right there. And then you turn them over, and I push the skin back just so it stays, and make a cut on all the skin, and then just kind of look through there for any leftover whatevers.
Oh, okay.
Like that's the crop. It didn't get.
Right.
I didn't
kind
get
of
it
pull
on the
out.
other one.
Yeah.
And so it goes down to the very end. And then when you give it a good pull, it'll break off from down inside. And then the rest will come out on the other side.
So Audra, how does your medical school training prepare you for this?
I'm glad I did my ortho rotation. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
So you're surgeon on humans?
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
yes. I'm a gynecologist.
Serious?
Yeah.
Scott is just pulling feathers that were missed, you know, and a lot of the pin feathers on the wings will remain, like something like that, you know.
Oh, okay.
And some of them are kind of hard to get out, but we got these little tweezers here, and so we're just checking them over, making sure they're, yeah. And a couple of these, he's just getting the dump dialed in, you know, so a couple of these are going to be a little more work. And then we look inside here, and this one's really clean. Jerry's really good at getting, but sometimes the testicles will be left in there, so we want to get those out, or any chunks of lung, or just make it look real nice, you know. And once they're all cleaned up, just put them in the second dump tank here, get some ice. Both your knives are pretty dull in there, huh?
No, just the one, but I think I like the one the best. So
Yeah.
if you want this one back, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I don't need
All right, what do we have here?
all the feathers from the plucked chickens. Come right out of the bottom of the plucker. We'll bag them up and take them to the dump or compost them.
All right.
We estimate they're about 10-20% of their nutrition comes from the pasture, and then obviously 80 to 90 is supplemented with grains. To get to the goal is about a 4 to 5 pound bird in 8 weeks.
And what happens after 10 weeks?
After 10 weeks, they begin to develop their muscle and become really tough. So the meat will be really grainy and textured. It'll be tough meat. If we can learn to cook with older methods, slower cooking, then we could raise birds longer and use less grains and more pasture. But right now our methods of cooking are broilers, frying pans, barbecues, instead of like crock pots and slow cooking meat. If you slow cook it, it will tenderize and be edible, but we're just not used to cooking that way. So we had a chef come in and prepare our chickens for 20 of our club members, and he did them 4 different ways, and he actually was surprised that he didn't have to use the saltwater brines that he was used to for changing the flavor of the meat. He uses a saltwater brine to suck out all of the nasty flavor, and then he re-soaks it in seasonings and things to change how the meat will cook. So the 2 things he found out was that he doesn't have to use a saltwater brine because the meat has its own flavors and it's good. And 2, it didn't shrink and dry up like other chicken does because it's not filled with water. There's a lower percentage of moisture in our chicken and sodium than standard chicken. So he found that he had to change his cooking methods completely.
Try tugging on him. I know that was only 4, but
not mathematically what works, but
little
what
stiff
does
still.
your mind say? Well, you're obviously
pretty stiff.
Yeah, give him another down.
Yeah.
But the average
There we go. Thank you.
You want to put the water on?
Which one is
Right.
it? Right here?
Yep.
we'll do about 80 birds a year for a family of 6. And a lot of people only order about 20 to 30 for their family. But if you're trying to do all of it, you're going to be somewhere between 50 and 100 per family. Yamhill County just started a Nourish Yamhill Valley project, which is a food collaborative aimed at working together in the food system. So we're meeting every month to start designing our food system. We'll have a business plan by the end of next year. But we're basically researching right now. We're spending a whole year on studying it. From consumer, production, farmer, distribution, the whole system. The food processing truck. So last year we did 500 pounds of peaches in like 7 hours in just somebody's barn as a community. And we went to tour this peach packing plant, and we found that they were throwing away an 8x10 trailer of fresh peaches every day.
Why?
Because they were too soft to ship through all the shipping processes. So they were perfectly ripe, the best peaches you've ever had, but by the time they got where they were going, they'd be completely soft and rotten in the cooler. So these are the perfect peaches to eat, the best you've ever had. So we came up with an idea to build a canning trailer that can go to these farms and take all their culls or their waste and create jams, jellies, peaches, all that stuff. And then we'll go as a community and just roll in there. And the idea is this would become more of a for-profit, like an added value for farmers. They can charge a really low price. We can get fresh food. Instead of like the gleaning program, this would be something that's sustainable and lasts, and we're paying a farmer for it. And then communities come and they get their goods for much less at the ripe of the harvest. So all that waste is now going to kitchens and homes.